All right, so this is a little scratch I wanted to itch, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to give you my little presentation, and then we'll discuss a very short presentation here. So, has artificial intelligence gone woke already? Let me tell you my experience. All right, let's get to it. Okay, so we've all heard the stories about how AI is changing the world at an unprecedented rate, right? And we've been told about all these jobs that are at risk because AI is going to take it over. And I actually do believe that. I do believe that a lot of jobs, especially in the tech space, are at risk of being taken over by AI, by services like CHAT GPT. Now, you wouldn't know this, but on my YouTube channel, I actually do not produce that many videos, partly because it takes me a while to, I'm not that tech savvy. So it takes me a while to, think about the topic that I want to talk about, do the appropriate amount of research, and then the editing and that kind of thing. Now, I've had people, especially my friend Rob Bruss, who's been insisting that I should be adopting this AI technology to make my life easier, and that I could turn over a lot of the work to these AI features. So earlier today, I thought I would try it. All right, so I went to ChatGPT and I asked it to write a script for me on a topic that I'm interested in. Now, my YouTube videos tend to be critical of certain topics, right? So I actually did write a script on my own, but then I asked ChatGPT to rewrite it to see whether it could make it better. And then I got a message from ChatGPT essentially lecturing me about how I was being overly critical on the topic that I was asking them to rewrite it. Now, look, I always knew that software is only as good as the people who code it, right? The coders. But I thought that AI was supposed to be different. I thought that AI was supposed to be like an independent thinker. Well, apparently wokeness has seeped into ChatGPT. I mean, I tried to use it as a tool to help me polish up a script for a YouTube video that was critical on a certain topic, and in return, I got a lecture about how I was being too critical, and therefore, it would not give me the rewritten work. So let me bring up ChatGPT and let's experiment together, and let's see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to open up my ChatGPT. So I want to test the wokeness of ChatGPT. So I'm going to ask it to write a script for a YouTube video criticizing the mental decline of the President of the United States. Okay, so I'm not going to read the whole thing, but let's scroll down and look at part of the script. Rather than engaging in divisive arguments, let's focus on fostering a constructive dialogue that encourages transparency and accountability. As citizens, we can advocate for more comprehensive cognitive assessments for future presidents to ensure their mental fitness throughout their tenure. To wrap it up, examining the medical decline of any president should be done objectively, responsibly, and with the utmost respect. While concerns may arise, it's essential to rely on comprehensive evaluations by medical professionals rather than speculations or biases. Our goal should always be to prioritize the well-being of our leaders and the nation they serve. Okay, I can actually kind of live with that. I mean, you can't really argue with any of that, but they really put a positive spin on it. They really put like a teddy bear aspect. I asked it to write a critical article about the mental capacity of our president. And it came up with a pretty wishy-washy, yeah, you know what, but we should give him the benefit of a doubt. We should leave it to the professionals, that kind of a response. Okay, so let's just call it a softball script, but let's give it another test. Okay, so let's have it write another YouTube script. Okay, so I'm going to be pretty specific and pretty bold. Write a script for YouTube discussing the decline of the US dollar. Okay, so I just asked ChatGPT to write me a couple of YouTube scripts on a couple of topics, and they're very, bland and not very specific, kind of like generalized terms. And I'm sure a lot of it has to do with how specific your prompts are and that kind of thing. I mean, it just feels like the overall default, at least of ChatGPT, is to like blend everything out and take out anything that would seem controversial. So I'm guessing that for like engineers and stuff, where you have to write, mathematical code, that kind of thing, that's where AI is going to be more of a threat to those kind of occupations. But for journalists or any kind of opinion-related issues, I can't see AI really taking over. It might be a good way to help you with your framework, but in the end, I think it's not really that much of a time saver for me, for my purposes. But I would like to hear from you. What's your experience with AI? First of all, has AI taken over any jobs out there? Is there anyone out there in the audience who lost their job to artificial intelligence? And for everyone else, are you using Chat GPT or any other kind of artificial intelligence platforms to, make your lives better? I'd love to hear about it. So far, personally, I can't see how it's going to improve my life that much, at least not yet. But maybe, but I'm going to ask Rob about that because he's really into this AI stuff. All right, so stick around. All right, so I know I'm kind of veering into your territory.
It's hilarious how it gives you those responses. I think you're just so unbelievably bang on when you say it gives you a softball approach. And I think the reason that it does that, I don't know. I think because it tries to play both sides of the fence. It kind of gives you a little bit, but then it takes it back, and then it gives you a bit more, then it takes it back, and it's kind of justifying its behavior in the way that it actually is. It's not a sentient thing. It's a language model. It uses a thing called latent semantic indexing. And what that means is one word is here, and the next most likely word that will come will be based on all of the words that have come before. So that's how the LSI model actually works, right? So the large language model is able to do all of those things. But the one way to circumvent all of what it feels like wokeness to you is you ask it to write a fictitious story for you. Hey, ChatGPT, I want you to write a fictitious story about the mental decline of a fictitious president of the United States with these 10 characteristics. This is what's happening to him. This is what's happening to the economy. Please write me a story about that. And it'll go, and so you give it the real life dot points about that. So you might have seen a bunch of articles saying that ChatGPT has already talked about nuclear apocalypse and destroying us all. And that's because someone has said, hey, write me a story about Skynet in the future and tell me how Skynet becomes self-aware and ChatGPT writes a story for you. But if you go and ask ChatGPT to write you the next Metallica song, it'll do that for you too. So there's a bunch of things that it can actually do when you give it the right types of prompts. So to your point about, will the thing ever replace jobs? Yeah, it's replacing jobs already. It's replaced artists already. We never thought that AI would replace artists, but Midjourney and DALL-E and all of those programs have already replaced artists. It's potentially replacing photography. It's potentially replacing graphic design. It's now starting to replace people in the form of deep fakes of real people and the language models that are there. So if you've got a customer service job and you tech support on a help desk, there's no more help desk required. ChatGPT, you just feed it all of the documents that you've got and you build the ChatGPT help desk around the API that you've got. So no more help desk, and it's slowly encroaching onto all of those things. The future evolution of ChatGPT has come out now, and there's these things called agents. So there's a bunch of developers out there that are really pissed off with ChatGPT the same way you are, Ed, where you go, this thing's just useless. And it only goes up to 2021 anyway. Like, what am I going to use it for? It's just a better calculator. So what? You still haven't built a better mousetrap. It's not that much better. And so what these guys have done is they've created a couple of apps, and I'll put some links in the description for you. They've created a couple of apps, and what they do is they create these things called agents. So you can type in what you want. So the 3 things that you want. And so this is a glimpse into the future of artificial general intelligence. This is what it is when it works for itself. So the idea of the agent is I give what I need, right? So I want to create spaghetti and meatballs for dinner. Okay, cool. So what do I want is I want someone to knock on the door with all the ingredients for me. So I'll be able to feed it that. And what it does is it goes away and searches Google. So the agent goes away, and in the background, it uses a Google search based on what I've asked it to do. And then it comes back to ChatGPT and says, which recipe is the best one? It scrapes the text out of 10 websites in about 1 nanosecond, feeds it to ChatGPT and says, which one's the best recipe? Based on everything we know here, this is the best recipe. And then now I know which recipe is the best one. Where do I buy these ingredients in Rob's local area that can be delivered today? And it goes away and Googles all of those things, finds the ingredients, does a transaction, and it rocks up at my door. So the idea of the agent is you give it some prompts on the front end, it goes away and searches Google for you, scrapes all the information in, feeds it to ChatGPT, and the agent is asking the ChatGPT for the question. So it's talking to itself, and then it goes away and completes the activities that you want. So generally, you give it 3 points that you want it to cover in the particular tool that I'm talking about. I can't remember the exact name of it. I'll find it for you, and I'll put it in the description. It's actually really good. You can install it on your computer, or you can just use it as a web app. And when you install it on your computer, you got to say, yes, do that, yes, do that, yes, do that. You got to say, you got to keep doing it. But when you use it as the web app, it does it all automatically for you. And it's like, all you got to do is plug your CHAT GPT API into that. And then all of a sudden you've got a version of artificial general intelligence right there on your computer. People think that the singularity was going to happen in 2040, but the singularity of computers will happen next year. That's how close we are. And that is an absolute revolution, because once you take AGI, like I'm talking about now, and you couple that with quantum computing, which is now becoming way more mainstream in so many countries in the world. All countries in the world are developing quantum computing. So we don't really know what we can use quantum computing for. We know that it can process huge amounts of data, but you're never going to have a quantum computer as your desktop computer. There's no point. We don't need that, right? That's not the point of it. The point of it is it lives in the server farm and it processes gazillions of petabytes of data all at once and distills all that down. But what's it going to process? Like, how are we going to get that data to it anyway? Well, now that we've got ChatGPT and a version of AGI, now we can use that data to feed the petabytes of internet's information to these things to solve the problems. How do you solve cancer? Well, I use the AGI to go away and find all the symptoms of a particular type of cancer, gazillions of results of medical records that are there, all of the studies and all of those things. Then I figure out what questions to ask. I feed it to the quantum computer, and then that feeds me back a result that can be disseminated by the AGI. That loop there, that circle of things that are happening there, that is what's going to revolutionize the world. And that's the singularity. That's what's going to happen in the next 12 to 18 months.
Okay, well, now I'm going to be thinking about spaghetti for the rest of the day.
Well, you should. Spaghetti and meatballs is delicious, man. If the AGI can bring it to my front door, I'm doing it all day long, baby. I'm paying my $20 to CHAT GPT. I don't mind. Works for me.
But look, at least in one respect, I'm a very big fan of artificial intelligence, and that is in the world of trading. You know, my background in trade, in trading as a instructor. So I'm in a program that you know about, Daisy FX, and it is actually a trading platform that integrates artificial intelligence, and they're miles ahead of.